Hi muckers, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you're all doing very well. I'm very excited for today's video because this is not the first time I've made a video like this, but I'm hoping that it's going to be the best version of it that I've made. So we are going to be diving into today Britney Spears, the media, the career trajectory that she was on, what happened in 2007, what happened after 2007, what happened in the conservatorship, being free from the conservatorship, post-conservatorship. There's so much that I want to talk about with Britney Spears, but this is not my first time talking about this or diving into it, because actually my first ever video that took off on my YouTube channel was posted 7 years ago, I think it was. Let me check. 7 years ago. It was posted on when? The 4th of June, 2018. Wow. So literally 4 years ago, a couple days ago. And it was called The Breakdown of Britney Spears. And it got a lot of views, considering that in 2018, I was getting maybe 12 views a video. It ended up getting 1.1 million views. And I have it on private right now because there's a couple errors in the video and I just kind of don't want to stand behind it. As much as for then I put a lot of work into it, it's basically detailing 2007 and 2008 in Britney Spears' life, and is more so kind of editing rather than what I do now. Like, I'm talking and then there's just a bunch of videos and I'm trying to be like a narrator of like a documentary. I was proud of it back then, and obviously I didn't say anything wrong in the video. I just kind of like when it comes to Britney Spears in 2007, in that video, I focused on 2007, whereas in today's video, I kind of want to give you the context before, what led us to that point, and everything after, because I feel like that's more important. And actually, I do want to say that I was one of the first people to make videos on the Free Britney movement, because obviously I was a Britney Spears fan, so I was aware of the Free Britney movement and Britney Spears' conservatorship long before the general public started to care. That's not just exclusive to me, that is being a Britney Spears fan. And 7 years ago, in 2018, May 28th, I had actually posted a video about Free Britney, which is crazy, and then I posted another one 23rd of April, 2019, Free Britney, the truth about Britney Spears. And I don't know if this is still on my YouTube channel or not, but anyway, this was an entire video about Free Britney, and this was really before people started talking about Free Britney. So I just want to let you know that when it comes to Britney Spears, I take the topic very fucking seriously. I love that woman. I would die for that woman, and she deserves so much respect that to this day still does not get. And I just have no time for anyone that does not respect Britney Spears. Like, I think when you're on a first date and you ask someone a question about like their beliefs and stuff, I think a great way, another final question, just to kind of know about their personality, is to be like, what do you think about Britney Spears? And if they respond with a compassionate or nice response, I like you. If they immediately respond with, oh, about like her breakdown and she's crazy and her Instagram posts and all like this, red flag. No. So today I want to talk about Britney Spears and her career, because I find it really just, it's devastating. And I'm glad that nowadays people look at what happened with Britney Spears in a more sensitive light. And I guess we're aware of the conversation of mental health more, and overworking people and burnout and exploitation in the media. Like, we're talking about these things now, which is all well and good. But back then, a mental health struggle that we wouldn't bat an eyelid today to support someone back then was, this person's crazy, this person needs to be institutionalized. Like, it was a horrible time for anyone in the media and just people in general. So I'm glad that we're a little bit more respectful nowadays, not fully, but I just think that when it comes to Britney Spears now, it really pisses me off how many people will look at her Instagram and look at Britney Spears twirling in a little pink dress, or, you know, doing whatever the fuck she wants on Instagram, and then for people to be like, she's crazy, lock her up again, like the conservatorship, maybe it wasn't that bad. And I'm seeing these comments and I'm like, how dare people write things like this when what happened to Britney is publicly available now. Like, stop being, like, leave this woman alone. Like, leave her alone. Leave her alone then. Leave her alone now. Let her live her life. Like, I don't know. I just get super defensive when it comes to Britney Spears. So let's talk about her, okay? So let me turn my phone around here. So with Britney Spears, I honestly just want to start immediately with her career rise, which was in January 12th, 1999. Britney released her debut album. Let me get comfortable. Always gotta get comfortable. She released her debut album, Baby One More Time, and it sold over 10 million copies in its first year alone, which is crazy. And she had such an insane debut. Obviously, we know that Britney Spears was on the Mickey Mouse show before. It was that Mickey Mouse, yeah. She was on that show with Christina Aguilera, Justin Timberlake, and Ryan Gosling. And, you know, she was a child star who then obviously was one of the first waves of let's take these child stars and make them pop stars. And her debut was a huge success. In 2000, 2001, Britney was over every single channel. More specifically, you know, MTV's and TRL. TRL was huge for, you know, promoting albums and, you know, celebrity appearances. And Britney was everywhere. They were working her, and she was promoting singles and albums at such a quick rotation. Like, she was being worked. And then she was on a tour for each one as well. They were, you know, making a lot of money off of Britney Spears. And so they wanted to make even more. And during these initial years, she was working more than any artist was at that time. It was crazy. She ended up, you know, releasing her albums Oops, I Did It Again, and then her album Britney, which, by the way, I would love. I know no one would watch it. I would love to break down in order ranking my opinion on Britney Spears albums, because that album, Britney, her self-titled album, is so fucking good. I would say the best Britney Spears albums are, in order, now don't hold me to this because it changes, I would say Britney, strong number one. I always get messed up with In the Zone and Blackout and which one I prefer. But today, I'm gonna put... you know what? In the Zone is going number 2, then Blackout, and then past that, I would probably honestly put Glory up there. Okay, we'll say that for another video. But anyways, when it comes to Britney Spears, I don't fuck around. I'm a fan down. She released those albums September 6th, 2001, which is crazy to me because that was only a couple days before September 11th. Britney Spears performed with a snake at the VMAs, and this is something that even to this day gets referenced in pop performances, pop outfits. Like, Britney Spears, the legacy she has lived is insane, and the amount that she will be referenced is... I don't see anyone get referenced as much as Britney, Madonna, and Michael Jackson. And Britney is a legend. She is a legend. Now, 2002, she broke up with Justin Timberlake, so obviously we're all aware that she was with Justin throughout a long period of this. Also, fuck Justin Timberlake. I am working on a video of the scandals of Justin Timberlake because the way he did the women in the industry, specifically Britney, is absolutely crazy, and also justice for Janet Jackson. But with Britney, once they broke up, Justin went on a press tour, you know, trying to really bring her down and make her the villain, and he was the sad, broken one after the breakup. But it's crazy because he was going around radio stations talking about how he took her virginity and all this stuff, but yet he was seen as the loved one and Britney was seen as the evil one. And again, in recent years, thankfully, the narrative has switched with how evil Justin Timberlake was and how he relied on the narrative of the women at the time being negative and his being positive. Fuck Justin Timberlake. But anyways, it was a messy breakup. Justin released Cry Me a River. Britney released Every Time. 2 amazing songs, by the way. But it was just not a great time for Britney. She had her heart broken, broke up with Justin. But then in the media, this was the start of the Britney villain era. You know, the media started to just paint her as an evil person, and Justin was done so wrong by her, whenever that wasn't even true. First and foremost, and he was slandering her all over the media, and she was being seen as the villain. And yet her team were overworking her to fuck during this time as well. So the media are really pumping out negative stories about Britney, following her every day. Paparazzi are stalking her outside her home. She can't go into the store without them being there. And then her team are pushing her to work so much, so she's overexhausted, and then dealing with all this. They were making this woman crazy. They were making her crazy. They were trying to break her down. So again, Cry Me a River, Justin's song really implied that Britney cheated. So again, this further fueled this villain narrative about Britney. 2003 was whenever Britney kissed Madonna at the VMAs, and I think it's really, again, it shows Britney creating legacy moments at the VMAs, but I think what's funny is everyone forgets that Christina Aguilera also kissed Madonna as well, and she also went on, like, a press tour after the VMAs, Christina, talking shit about Britney kissing Madonna, and I'm like, girl, you did it too, just no one cared when you did it, because the cameras cut to Justin acting all pissed. But again, the media came for Britney after this Madonna moment, and the media are always against Madonna, but then Britney was really getting that same treatment. Now, January 3rd, 2004, Britney married Jason Alexander in Vegas, and the marriage ended up getting annulled after 55 hours, but I would say this was really the turning point from when the media started to kind of paint Britney in this, like, erratic, manic light. And this is something that they would really hone in on over the next couple years. And in reality, it was just Britney having some fun or breaking out and doing something she actually wants to do for once, or even just rebelling against her team and family. Like, the way that the media wrote and spun this narrative, crazy. So in July of 2004, she ended up marrying Kevin Federline. Boo! The media hated this relationship. They hated him, they hated her, they hated them together, but they loved to make money off of them. Britney and Kevin also released a terrible reality TV show. This really didn't help the narrative at the time. And Kevin Federline, I do not have enough words to describe how much I hate this man, how much he exploited Britney, how much he did her dirty, and how much he led her in such a bad path because he was so money and clout hungry. I believe that Kevin Federline and Justin Timberlake are the root of all fucking evil. But anyways, during this entire marriage, the media were really attacking her, really attacking Kevin, and it was very clear that them attacking Kevin was affecting Britney and making her pull back from the media. But then the more Britney pulled back, the more they would stalk her, and they were really sending her into a fucking spiral. She clearly didn't want to be a part of the media, but the more she didn't want to be a part, the more invasive they were, and it was an incredibly, incredibly toxic time. September 2005, the following year, Britney's son Sean is born. It's also really crazy to me now seeing like that her kids are so much older and how many years were stolen from their relationship with their mom because of the conservatorship. Fuck you, Jamie Spears. In February of 2006, this was a big viral moment for Britney in the negative. She was driving with her child on her lap, Sean, and she was escaping the paparazzi is the context, right? So she put her child on her lap and she drove, which I guess is illegal or something like that. And the media basically started from this moment on, Britney Spears is a bad mother narrative, where they would print stories every single day about how terrible of a mother she was and how unqualified she was. And Britney herself has confirmed that this was really one of the things that started to break her. Not only were they coming after her relationship with someone she loved, Kevin, but they were now printing stories that she was a danger to her kids. And again, they would put her in situations where she has to respond quickly for the safety of her child. But then when she's responding, they'll take photos of her responding to that and be like, wow, she's a crazy, unhinged person. So Britney was really at her breaking point in 2006. Interviews that she was doing at the time as well were really showing that she was struggling. But again, no one took fucking mental health seriously, and they loved to exploit her and they loved to make money off of her. And it just pisses me off so much that the same motherfuckers who did that back then will now be in Netflix documentaries about Britney, you know, interviewing as the journalist and talking about how bad of a time it was for her. Yeah, motherfucker, you put her through that. Fuck you. Anyways. September 2006 was when her second child, James, is born. Now, only a couple months later, she files for divorce from Federline, and the custody battle began. Now, the media really were happy about Britney filing for divorce against Kevin. I remember there's like a clip that it's like one of my favorite clips ever. I think it's from The View. Maybe it's Rosie O'Donnell. She's like, Britney files for divorce from Kevin, and she hits a button and she goes, confetti! And a bunch of confetti falls from the, like, everyone was celebrating Britney getting away from Kevin. The media picked up on his bad vibes. They didn't care enough to, you know, do anything about it, but Kevin was so disliked. But when they divorced, Britney was clearly a shell of herself. She was going through a lot of emotional trauma, I can only assume, from being overworked still during this period. You know, going through postpartum of 2 back-to-back fucking pregnancies. And that's what people don't understand as well, that she was more than likely going through postpartum depression through this entire breakdown that people talk about, on top of everything else they were doing to her. And by the way, behind the scenes, her family are exploiting her throughout this entire time as well. Let's not get that wrong. So this was really, really, really when things started going off the fucking chain. She was going through a divorce. She was probably going through postpartum depression of 2 back-to-back pregnancies. The media were stalking her and harassing her like never before. Her family were starting to really exploit her. Her record label were pushing her to release music. She was overworked and clearly incredibly depressed, but no one wanted to do anything about it. They just wanted to make a headline. Let's follow her, make her cry, and then we can get a good story out of it. Because at this time, for context, the paparazzi in LA had careers off of only taking photos of Britney alone. That's how much photos are going for. Now, okay, so this is really the era before what the media would categorize as the breakdown. In December of 2006, so the end of the year, which is a month after she filed for divorce, was whenever Britney first started being seen going out partying and clubbing. And you know what I say to that? Good for her. I hope she was having fun. She befriended Paris Hilton during this time. And this is when we got a lot of iconic photos and moments and viral moments of Britney, Paris Hilton, Kim Kardashian, Lindsay Lohan. All of these people at that time, you know, going out and clubbing. And she, you know, during this time would possibly sometimes go out clubbing, you know, not wearing a bra, which is crazy that this was a problem back in the day. Jesus Christ. Back in the day, not even that long ago. A lot of footage of her, like, you know, drunk, stumbling in heels. And the media started to follow her during her times of clubbing and flash her so desperately with all the camera flashes that she would stumble, drunk or not. And then they would spin stories that she's out of control, drinking too much, an alcoholic, a drug user, a mommy on the loose, she should be looking after her kids. And so Britney's only time in her entire career that she really had fun and let loose, and she was going through so much at this time, was the first time that the media started to paint her as, quite honestly, a danger to herself. And ultimately, this started to affect her as it would to anyone, okay? And then in January of 2007 was when Britney entered a treatment facility, and she ended up leaving, I think, less than like 24 hours after. And then a month later, she ended up checking herself into Promises Rehab in Malibu. But again, she left the next day. And I also want to stress that when she was checking herself in and out of treatment centers, the media were always stalking her at them. And it would be the main news story the next day. So anytime Britney tried to escape everything, they would still follow her, which is, she couldn't escape, okay? And then February 16th, which is the day after she checked out of the rehab facility, was when she shaved her head. And we have, you know, the moment of her, you know, taking the razor herself and shaving her head. And the hairdresser at this salon, you know, says that they tried to talk Britney out of doing this. And Britney was saying, I don't want anyone touching me. I just want my hair gone and all like this stuff. And like a really emotional moment. And everyone loves to kind of, you know, heroify the person who worked at the salon for giving her the freedom to do that. But didn't the worker at the salon also open the windows and let the paparazzi get an immediate shot of Britney shaving her head that probably sold for one of the most expensive paparazzi photos of all time? So also fuck that salon owner bitch. You know what I mean? Please. None of these people are good. They're all exploiting her. The salon girl knew that if they got the photo of Britney doing that in their salon, that it would forever be in legacy. No one cared about Britney, even in this moment, which pisses me off. So a couple days later was that moment of Britney, you know, with the umbrella at the paparazzi's car. The photos go viral. They are still used to this day to make fun of Britney, which is so disgusting because she was at her fucking breaking point at this stage. And the fact that everything was just a joke, fuck all these people. And it really pisses me off to this day when people make like Britney 2007 jokes. I'm like, how about you die? Clap if they should suffer. I'm clapping. So in March, there were many times that Britney checked in and out of rehab, but again, paparazzi were following her every single moment, so things really didn't last, and again, she was overwhelmed, as anyone would be. Now, in 2007, May of this year, Britney actually did a surprise show at the House of Blues, and it was a very quick show. It was quite messy, quite iconic, but quite messy, and it clearly shouldn't have probably happened. And again, the media loved this. It was a very unrehearsed show, very quick. It was mainly lip synced, which obviously Britney does. But there was such a focus on her just not being Britney anymore. And so the media were now painting this picture that Britney's gone. We don't even have Britney anymore. And I'm like, God, you bitches are exhausting. Unfortunately, a couple months later, Britney did lose primary custody of both of her sons. And in October, she ended up missing a bunch of court dates. And again, the media really focused on this as well. And then a month later was when Britney released Blackout and Gimme More, Piece of Me. These songs were released during this time, a month after all of this. She's released, quite honestly, the greatest pop album of all time. Of all time. And she's released that in the middle of all this? What the fuck? That is insane. So anyway, she released this album, and this album is obviously one of the most iconic albums of all time, and it was critically acclaimed, by the way, at the time. However, it really didn't get promoted because Britney was going through it, and also going through a lot of legal situations, so it just wasn't a great time, but thank God the album ended up getting its justice. And then around this time as well, Britney was kind of on and off allegedly dating one of the paparazzi as well. Just very, very, very messy. And then the media were leaking stories about her through him. Just very, very, very messy time. And then so that was in like December, November time. And then a month later, January 3rd, Britney was asked to kind of hand her sons over to Kevin Federline. And this story always breaks my heart, but she refused, and she took the sons into the bathroom in her house and locked the door so that they couldn't take her sons away. And for some reason, this became such a big media moment of how evil and scary she is. But I don't know how anyone doesn't look at that as a desperate attempt to not want to lose your children. And the fact that the media provoked her to a state where they then deemed that she wasn't fit to look after her kids, and she's so desperately trying to keep them that she's locking herself in a bathroom, and yet that's a memed on news story. I don't like it at all. I don't like it at all. A day later, the police were called, by the way, during that, and then it was a day later that Britney was actually put on a 5150 mental health hold. She was released after 2 days, but obviously that was not an involuntary thing. The press were attacking her, calling her crazy, calling her psychotic, calling her schizophrenic. Like, they were literally throwing any names at her at all. They were mainly just calling her a danger to herself and her sons, which was obviously killing her reading this every day. She was the main news person, by the way, the entire probably 2 years, every single day. And no one cared truly about her because they were making money off of her. Now, at the end of January, she was hospitalized again, and Jamie Spears, boo, her father, filed for emergency conservatorship. Boo. And February 1st, 2008 is when it began. The conservatorship, the court granted it, and it was Jamie Spears, her father, evil, and lawyer Andrew Wallet, evil. They got temporary control over her estate and her person, which is crazy. And basically, if we skip to kind of the end of the the end of the year, the conservatorship was made permanent, and Britney literally lost every legal right over herself, her company, her estate, her sons, her everything, in October 28th, 2008. So from that moment on, Britney Spears was under this conservatorship. And November 30th, this is really interesting to me. November 30th, only a month after the conservatorship was made public, MTV aired a documentary called Britney for the Record. And in this documentary, it shows Britney being incredibly isolated, depressed, and that no one around her really cares for her. I cannot believe her father signed off on this documentary, because it really, looking back on it, highlights how much they were abusing her. And I don't know if they were trying to do the documentary to kind of show her post-breakdown or whatever, but all it showed to me was that none of them had her best interests in hand, or in mind, I guess. So that's really, really fucked up to me. So anyways, as we know, the conservatorship got terminated November 12th, 2021 after 13 years. I was actually at the courthouse the day that she got freed. I went to LA for it because I was confident she was going to get free, because obviously once this gets looked into, obviously this needs to be terminated. But anyways, during the conservatorship, this is what happened. So conservatorship, they were saying she was like so impaired that she couldn't do anything. This is what Britney Spears did during the conservatorship. She was more overworked during the conservatorship than when she wasn't in a conservatorship. You know why? Because she had to do what they told her to do. Literally not that long after the conservatorship was made permanent, a couple months later, she went on the Circus World Tour. She released an album called Circus. Incredible album, by the way. And it grossed over $130 million, okay? So she worked so much that she got on a tour alone, a couple months after her conservatorship was made permanent, $130 million on the tour alone, not including the album and the entire press release, flying her from country to country promoting it, only a couple months after they deemed her so unfit to look after herself. And yet this was never, ever questioned. But don't worry, she was promoting this album 2009 and 2010. Do you think she got a break after that? No, they immediately went into another album cycle where she released the Femme Fatale album, an EDM album, in 2011, and immediately went on what? A world tour, which lasted, I would argue, the same, if not longer time than Circus. It seemed to go on for a very long time. She was touring every single day of the year for years, making millions upon millions of dollars, but yet she was deemed unfit. And during this time was whenever they allegedly started giving Britney a lot of medication, and that's why she seems so out of it during most of these fucking shows, which is so scary that that was allowed to happen. The people who were court appointed to look after her. Now, she was doing this era until about 2012, and then in 2012, she didn't release any music per se, like an album, but they got her to work on the X Factor as a judge, where she was clearly so uncomfortable doing all of that. And they also had her literally doing like interview promo runs for different projects. So they had her working during that off year as well from touring. But don't worry, less than a year later, she released an album, Britney Jean, terrible album, and went on a Las Vegas residency. And she ended up, by the way, changing Vegas forever. A residency turned from something you do when your career's over to a young and fun thing. But she didn't want to do that. And they also released Britney Spears' documentary in 2013, which again, completely didn't talk about the fact she was forced to do all this. Now, she was doing this Las Vegas residency from 2013 until 2017. This was only supposed to be a couple year, I think it was a year, Vegas residency, which turned into 2013 to 2017. You know why? Because the conservatorship people said that it was making her, be in a really good, consistent place. No, she was just pulling in millions upon millions, okay? In 2016, during the fucking Vegas residency, was when Britney released her album, Glory, one of her best albums, and it was an album where she finally took control back, because with the previous album that was promoting the Vegas residency, Britney didn't even sing most of the songs because the conservatorship people got Maya Marie, who sounds like Britney, to sing most of the songs. Because they didn't even care about what Britney was releasing, as long as they could release a Britney thing to make money. Fuck y'all. She released Glory, and this did seem like a great time of her life, because she was passionate about the music again. She looked incredible. She said she felt incredible. She had this passion for performing again. She just, I cannot describe it. It was incredible. And she was passionately talking about the music. The music came out and it looked good and sounded good. The music videos were good. She was promoting it. She seemed happy to be promoting it. And Britney ended up saying that this was a moment when she got her spark back. And she started performing when she was on stage. But then the Vegas residency ended and Britney's spark seemed to disappear again. But then Britney ended the conservatorship appointed Vegas residency just for the Vegas residency, after all of those years of being overworked, to then be announced to be going on a European tour. Now, this was the first time I ever saw Britney, first and only time I saw her in concert in Dublin. Girl, she didn't want to be there. and completely valid. Britney was promised after her Vegas residency was over that she would be done. But on the night of her Vegas residency being over, her father or whoever it was went up to her and gave her the contract for the European leg and forced her to sign it, or else they wouldn't let her see her sons and all these other rules. So she didn't want to do it. And then when she went on stage for the European portion of the Vegas residency, she was clearly depressed on stage and clearly heavily medicated. And so that spark from glory, gone. And Britney ends up speaking out recently saying that she got her spark back during that, but they didn't like that because she was starting to become powerful again, which is so fucking devastating. So she did that tour, and then right after the tour, Britney announces another Vegas residency. Now, the Vegas residency, she went on Ellen to promote the announcement for it. So she went on Ellen to say, I'm going to announce something in Vegas on this day. And then on that day, which was already really weird, and then on that day, Ellen was live streaming the event, and Britney was also live streaming it. So it gets announced on the Vegas building, Britney Spears, Domination, I think it was called. And then Britney rises from the stage, the songs are playing, Britney walks into the crowd and walks right past the media and gets into her car and leaves. Doesn't announce the Vegas residency, doesn't talk to press, doesn't do whatever. And after people knew that Britney didn't want to do the residency. People already knew that she didn't want to do it, because why are you doing 2 Vegas residencies back to back? That doesn't make sense. Her team were greedy. So right after this, Britney disappeared. And we end up figuring out that Britney was admitted involuntarily to a facility. So we go on. April 2019, after Britney started to retaliate, not wanting to do the Vegas residency, she was checked into a facility, and it was alleged that she was forced. And then July of 2020, court hearings show Britney is challenging the conservatorship privately. Now, this all started to leak, and the Free Britney movement became insane. Everyone was being pressured to talk, and fans got it confirmed that trying to look at rehab centers and where Britney was posing behind the scenes in her Instagram videos. Like, the fans got to the bottom of where she was staying. She was there. Protests started. And then we find out that Britney actually was challenging the conservatorship behind the scenes. Momentum gained, and the media jumped on the conservatorship team Britney the same way they jumped on Fuck Britney back in 2007, because it was making them a lot of money. So obviously, the Free Britney movement takes over, and we end up finding out through documentaries like Framing Britney Spears that aired in 2021, basically that what Britney was actually going through, and the general public were coming together to free Britney. It had now been exposed, the conservatorship abuse, what actually she went through in 2007, how they were overworking her, how they were manipulating her, how they were abusing her, how they were drugging her. It all started to come out. And then June 23, 2021 was when Britney spoke in court, and she said, I've been abused. I want my life back. And obviously, everyone started to hear this, hearing from Britney herself what they had put her through all these years of us knowing Britney Spears, and it became Free Britney forever. And then it was November 12th, 2021, the conservatorship was officially terminated after 13 years. And by the way, it wasn't that simple. The era of her being found out that she was challenging the conservatorship, and when she got freed, there were months and months of battles in between court hearings. I remember just being a fan and going through hearing timelines and confirmation and all the rest. It took a long time, but she eventually got free. Everything got released, and that's great. And people were on her side, but it really pisses me off that we're starting to see media do the same thing to Britney as what they did back then, which is paint her in a crazy light just because of her Instagram videos. Leave this woman alone. Now, I can't even imagine what it's like for 13 years to, probably be being drugged up and involuntarily put into mental health facilities, and then you're just given free reign of your life back again. It takes anyone time to adjust. But even if this is just how Britney wants to be, let her be. She had 13 years and 13 years of being with her kids stolen from her because of the media. I will always passionately defend Britney Spears. Okay, this video felt really full circle to make because I've basically done this on my channel before when I was like 15 or 14 years old. I will always defend Britney Spears, and do not forget the history of what they put this woman through. No, she is not crazy. She has been exploited and abused by the media, her family, and even her fans. All right, muckers, I will see you in my next one. Let me know how you're doing. I'll talk to you later, and goodbye.